In the summer of 2004, my wife and I were enjoying a typical evening in our apartment in St. Catharines, Ontario, Canada. It was shortly after dusk when I believe my wife first noticed a white light from an unidentified aircraft, above an apartment building about 1 kilometer away. The light seemed to be moving in a small circular pattern not far above the building. We found this very strange, as no conventional aircraft would have any reason to be flying that low or carrying out such a pointless maneuver, for the better part of a half an hour. It also was flying much slower than planes or helicopters typically do. In the area we lived in, it was always very quiet at that time of night, so if it was a regular known aircraft we also would have heard the engine noise. We couldn't hear anything that would help us identify it as terrestrial technology. We always have been very open-minded, and we both look at everything objectively. We always do the research and weigh the evidence at hand, so we aren't the type of people that automatically assume that any crazy light in the sky is a UFO. As an amateur paranormal investigator and enthusiast, I know it's necessary to eliminate any obvious explanations before considering the alternatives. If the activity we were observing wasn't peculiar enough, the unknown craft began to deviate from its repetitive flight path immediately after I sent it a psychic challenge, if you will. It began flying towards our small 2-story apartment building. As it slowly made its way towards us, my wife started getting extremely anxious and agitated. She yelled for me to get our digital camera and to run downstairs to the front lawn to catch it on video. I ran downstairs and waited as the light ominously approached our home. It was a cool summer night with a slight breeze, and as the wind enveloped my body, an eerie feeling came over me as the light got closer and closer. A chill raced down my spine as my hair stood up on my arms. I took a few videos on its approach, but the camera we had produced blurry pictures and video at best. I knew the image and video quality wouldn't be very good, but I still would rather have some evidence than none. The light approached from the east. It slowly changed direction to the northwest and then straight north towards Lake Ontario shortly thereafter. Another telltale indicator that this white light was more than likely not any conventional aircraft was the fact that there were no discernible navigation lights on it. After heading north, the light swung back to the east towards the area near the apartment buildings where it originated. It made a slight adjustment to its course and headed south. It was then that the light stopped and seemingly remained stationary, hovering for about 15 minutes. We observed it carefully at this point because we knew that people quite often mistake lights traveling straight on or away from the viewer's perspective as hovering. At that point I wasn't scrutinizing as much due to the evidence that I had already witnessed. I was already fairly confident that I wasn't dealing with a human-operated vehicle. A short time later the light just wasn't visible any longer. I returned to my apartment and talked about the experience with my wife. I uploaded the videos on my computer, and I wasn't surprised at all about the difficulty differentiating my recorded light from anything conventional. Unfortunately, the difference was negligible. Occasionally over the next week we believe we observed the same light on a couple of nights carrying out the same movements over that same apartment building. On one of those nights something unexpected occurred. A while after seeing the light and having it disappear again, I had an overwhelming urge to check on my 2-year-old daughter. She was in her crib and had been sleeping for a couple hours. I quickly made my way to her room and gently pushed her door open. I peeked across the room at her crib and slowly moved towards where she slept. All seemed to be well as she was sleeping comfortably with her favorite blankie in hand. I looked down at her and grinned with thoughts of relief and contentment. I turned and took a few steps towards the door. As I grabbed the doorknob, an uncontrollable psychic feeling of intuition took hold of me. Something told me to look out the window into the backyard. The exact moment I focused my eyes on the ground through the slightly opened horizontal blinds, a brilliant white light appeared. The light wasn't that from a regular outdoor lamp or spotlight. It was extremely bright, and you could see lines or rays emanating from its core, one on the top and bottom and one on each side. It was like looking into a tiny star, but it was floating stationary above the ground where there was no outdoor light. I knew I didn't have time to take a photo, so the only thing I could think of doing was yelling for my wife so she could corroborate my story. I yelled for her and she came very quickly. I think she recognized that my tone was serious. We stood there speechless for about 20 seconds and we both witnessed the light simply collapse on itself. It didn't turn off like you'd expect a porch light to. It looked like it got unzipped, being sucked into an alternate dimension, like through a portal. After it was gone, we also confirmed that there was nobody out there and that there was no outdoor lamp where we saw it. We were so disturbed by the seemingly connected events we endured over that week that we decided to wake up our daughter and spend the night at my mom's house. We explained everything that happened to us and she wasn't surprised by it. She had a close encounter of her own that she experienced in the late 70s, but that's another story for another time. We believe that the backyard light was a Foo Fighter and / or an observation device sent to check us out after checking them out for several days. We've had other experiences, but none quite like that since. It had to be more than a series of strange coincidences. Until next time, take care of yourself and your families. Love and mutual respect. Peace.